Bill, my understanding is that you learned to collect on past due accounts at a very early age, but surely, I mean, and you've had great success, but surely not all of your work has been successful.
Yeah, I became a collector with a Firestone stores by accident. We had a collection manager that wasn't very brave, and he didn't like to go out and knock on doors. And I was working there and going to high school. And I was working half a day and going to school half a day. So one day he said, "Boy, I hate to go out and collect money from this person." I said, "Well, why don't you send me out to collect money?" Now you got to realize I'm a 17-year-old high school student, right? So he sends me out to collect on a past due account with this customer that owed us for a set of tires. Well,
How much did he owe you?
I think he owed us something like $44. They were inexpensive tires at that time. You could buy a tire for $11 each. And I went out and this man happened to own a clothing store, a men's clothing store. Well, when I went in to see him, I knew I had to, be nice to the guy. So I started looking at the clothes he had to sell and got to talking with him. And he knew I was there to collect on the set of tires. He said, "Well, but have you ever thought about buying a suit from me?" And I said, "Well, no, I can't afford a suit." He said, "Well, how about a sport coat?" And so he got me looking at these sport coats and got me really interested. I bought a sports coat from him and paid him cash and left without collecting for the past due account on the tires. I go back and I tell this collection manager, he said, "Well, a fine collector you are. You didn't even get the money after you paid him cash for the tires." And what was great about this is the person I did, this merchant, called back up and said, "The young man who came out is really a nice young man. If you'll send him back out here, I'll give him the check for the $44, and that way he won't get in any trouble for not collecting the money." But that was a great lesson for me to learn. You always want to ask for the money, and you want to ask for the money before you go out and buying something for somebody else and spending your cash for it.
Now, along those same lines, you got so talented at collecting debts, but wasn't there a story where somebody actually tried to pay you for a debt they didn't even have?
Yeah, we called a customer up, and of course I didn't know when I called him, but this customer comes to my office and wants to pay a bill for $78. And I look all over my office for the $78. I mean, this is when we just started in business with our own company, and I needed that $78. And I tried every way possible to find his account. I tried different names, different locations. I said, "I cannot find your account." He said, "Well, I don't think I have an account with you." I said, "Well, why are you in here trying to pay me?" He said, "Well, you were so convincing on the telephone when you called that I was going to pay it even if I owed it or not. I figured maybe I forgot it sometime." That showed how effective we had become from the time I knocked on that door and tried to get the money from the merchant who sold me a coat until the time I opened my own company up. I'd learned to ask for that money in a very convincing way, enough to convince someone who didn't even owe the money to come in and pay me.
I appreciate you telling me some of these stories. I know you don't like to talk about your businesses a lot, and you feel like you're bragging. So I appreciate you telling me those stories because that's pretty funny.
Great.